welcome. We have Laura Escudé from
Hi.
Los Angeles and a woman of many talents, producer, performer, violinist, educator, business owner, CEO. Tell me everything you do if you can.
I think that kind of covers it. So I'm an artist and producer as Alluxe, and I own Electronic Creatives, which is a music playback and live show design company. And I do a lot of speaking and just outreach and education and just inspiring the people and the youth to cultivate their own unique voices in the world of live performance.
Yes. Yeah. So I think the first time you and I met was in Austin, probably, what was that? I think 2013-ish, 14.
Was that on the Ableton boat party? Did we meet there? Or was it another?
No, I don't think.
We met before that, yeah.
Jay Smith, who was the founder, or is the founder of Livid Instruments, he introduced, I think you did a video shoot with them, and then we kind of
that's right.
went and had dinner, and I got to know you and some of the other Livid people.
That's right, yeah. It was for the bass, when the bass came out.
Right.
We to Austin, and I was like in a warehouse, sitting around with a bass.
Very cool. Yeah. So that's when I first kind of learned who you were, and then since then I've tracked your career where, I mean, it seems like you're in a new city every day. You're touring with people like, Kanye and The Weeknd and Miguel, and for a while you were on tour with Iggy Azalea, and you were like, oh look, I'm on Saturday Night Live, and then you're on Saturday Night Live with a different artist, and I'm like, wow. So tell me about when you said electronic creatives, like what exactly does that mean? Because it sounds like a pretty wide spectrum of things that you're doing for people there.
Yeah, okay, so I'll give you like the short backstory. So I worked at Audio in tech support, and then I did sales and artist relations, and that was like my first job when I moved to LA right out of college. Then I worked at Ableton as a West Coast product specialist, so I was the first like remote person in California working for Ableton. This was in 2007, 2008. Then I left, and it's actually a sad story. I got laid off, which sucked. At the time I was devastated, but I still kept working with the company. It's just they shifted gears, and they were like, well, we're starting this certification program, so we have to lay you off, but would you like to be the first certified trainer? And I was like, okay, I guess so. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, at the time, I was helping them to develop the program, but no one really knew what it meant or, what it was going to be, because at that time people were still like, oh, Ableton, like, what's that? That's like that free software that comes with the audio stuff. Like, and I was like, no, this is a program. So we're just, after I left there, I became certified, and then I started getting hit up by like Cirque du Soleil and different people, and they're like, can you move to Vegas and work on this show? And I was like, yeah, I had no idea this was even a career. So moved to Vegas for 4 months and worked on a Cirque du Soleil show, and got hit up by Kanye's engineer, and then suddenly found myself on tour with Kanye for 7 years, the better part of 7 years. And that kind of just snowballed, and I decided, I tried to clone myself. I was like, well, The Weeknd called in 2012, and I was like, well, I really want to work with you guys. This is back when he just had a couple mixtapes out.
Yeah.
Like, so into the music, and I saw him at Coachella, and I was like, man, I could help so much, like, I just wanted to, and then they hit me up, and I was like, oh, great, like, I have ideas for them, like, how to make their live show better, like, this is perfect. So they said, well, can you come on tour? And I said, well, no, I can't, because I'm working with Kanye right now, and I've got, other stuff. And then also I was at the point where I was like, if I'm not like on stage in the band, like, I'm not really going to go work with another artist, that's smaller.
Yeah.
Because that's always been like the progression and the goal, to like be in the band, to be performing, because that's my first love. So I said, well, I can't do the show, but I've got this other guy that can do the show, and he works for my company. It was like, okay, like, so now I have a company. So So I actually did have a company. I mean, it basically was like just me, and before that, just like a little bit more backstory on EC. Like, we became a certified training center, and we were doing a lot of trainings and educational stuff before I got into the touring industry. So we were doing like these Ableton master classes in like LA and San Francisco, and I did one in New Orleans. And me and a couple of friends would just like go set up camp in a city, and we do like a weekend thing back in 2007, 2008, and teach people how to do Ableton Live stuff. So that was like the format of EC then. And then it kind of, things kind of like shifted. I also was doing like repping different products, like a sales rep for like Moog and Rob Pappen and F Expansion and all these like niche brands. So then all of that kind of like morphed into this like touring company. Very slowly. It was like I was still doing the educational stuff and still, you know, doing trainings and stuff like that. And then it kind of slowly, as I got more and more into the touring world, it became more focused on touring. And it was like selling gear and creating, you know, packages for tours and putting together like all the playback rigs, and then also the personnel to go on the tour with the playback rigs. So I just kept kind of putting one foot in front of the other, and just was like, oh, like the next time someone hit me up, I was like, well, I can't do it, but I've got this other guy that can do it. Yeah. And there, you know, I built up my name at that point, so people just trusted me, and you know, I feel like my communication was pretty good, and you know, I just knew the business, and a lot of people wanted to switch over to Ableton at that time because it was like Pro Tools and DP, and a lot of people still use that stuff, but more and more people were like, oh, Ableton's like meant for live performance, like we should be using this. It's very stable, and you know, there's these controllers, and you know, a big thing was like the DJs on stage, like they're so used to using Serato, but like, you know, when you start getting bigger and you want like different things in your in-ears and like clicks and counts, and like there's time code for the video, and you like want stems, you want to make like transitions and like all this different stuff, you have to move beyond Serato.
Yeah.
And so we would like help bridge that gap. So we'd like bring in our rig, but then still give the DJ like a controller so that they could control the rigs, you know. So basically it just kept on, and then I just like, you know, was touring with Kanye, and then in between tours with him or shows with him, I'd like pick up shows with like, you know, Iggy or, you know, whoever. I toured with Miguel. I actually was DJing in his band, and I opened for him for about 8 months, which was awesome, because I get to do my thing as Alluxe and be in the band and do programming and kind of run the show. So that was a really great experience. And then I've also like performed and DJ'd with like Charlie XCX and Iggy Azalea, Kaiza, and just, you know, a bunch of different people. So I've kind of just have tried to parlay like my success in the music playback world into like bringing all that into the live performance world a little bit, and kind of like meshing those together as much as possible, like with certain artists that are dope and they like really believe in me as an artist and like really are excited about what I'm doing. And I'm like, well, let's kind of bring it all together. Like I play violin, I'm a producer, I'm a controllerist, like I can bring something, you know, next level, interesting, more interesting to your show than someone just kind of standing up there behind the turntable. So yeah, that's a long answer, but that's kind of the progression, I guess.
I love it. Yeah, and the Alluxe project is super fresh. Like it's very future. At the same time, you're playing violin, so it's rooted in classical. So I think what you explained to me was sort of future classical, which is the theme for, you know, we're doing a Gravitas Create production challenge. So we've got some stems that we're giving away, and they're all samples and recordings and things that you've done. Some of them are your voice, some of them are your violin, right? And I think that, you know, it seems like you're drawing inspirations from past and future, which I think is a really cool blend. And the shots of you on stage that I've seen, I haven't seen you perform in your entirety and the whole thing, but the videos and the shots I've seen are very, like you said, it's very compelling, it's very fresh. Obviously, like your expertise in Ableton and using it or live and using it as it's intended, like full on capabilities. Like I think there's a lot of people really kind of not phoning it in, but it's, hey, we're just triggering loops, but you've really dialed. I mean, I'm impressed. I'm excited by that the way that you're pushing those boundaries as it's meant to be, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, it's definitely been a progression. I mean, I remember in 2004 and 2005, I was using like this Nintendo Power Glove, you know, with my violin, and I've always just been experimenting with, you know, different technology, and like of course all the new stuff that's coming out. It's like really amazing to pair that stuff with Ableton Live and see what kind of results you can get, and then of course messing around with like violins and MIDI stuff, and you know,
yeah. Very cool, very cool. Yeah, so I mean, kind of going back to EC just a little bit, which I think is really interesting because you're working with and sort of seeing behind the scenes of some of the world's, I mean, what I would consider top artists, and it seems like you play a role in, like you said, it kind of moving from Pro Tools and that old model to really the new capabilities, and like you said, all of the in-ear and playbacks and all of the things that are now coordinating, like you know, the stage is moving and changing and people are getting cues. Like you're actually responsible for sort of firing a lot of that stuff off during
oh
the
yeah. I mean, you name it. There's cues and counts, and for pyro sometimes, or you know, like they'll have in-ears and be like, okay, 3, 2, 1, fire, you know, or like count-ins for the band, like different count-ins and clips for the band and the artist.
Yeah.
You know, time code to run all the lighting and video. You know, transition segues. I mean, sometimes I'll make like, you know, 3 or 4 different transitions or segues to present to the artist, and that's where a lot of my production chops come in handy, because you know, I'm actually creating remixes of the music, you know, for these artists, and sound effects and sound design and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it really depends on the artist. I mean, some of the pop stuff is just more straight ahead, and then, you know, when you're working with some more experimental artists, that's when, you know, you get to be a little bit more creative, and that's, of course, more fun, but it can be a lot more stressful because sometimes the artists are like, oh, I want to change the entire show as we're walking the stage. And I'm like, oh, amazing! Everything I really wanted is to change the entire show right now. So much. While your heart's beating so fast, you're like, okay, I gotta like figure out how to do this transition. And you know, I mean, I've had some moments where I've been editing on like the backup computer during the show, and I'll like have to switch over during that song to the backup computer, and then like switch back to the A computer. Or like, I remember when I was on stage with Miguel, he had this like show in LA, and like Snoop Dogg showed up, and like Kendrick and all these people, and Kendrick's people showed up like in the middle of our set, and they're like, here's a USB stick. And I'm like, thank you. I so love it when people give me USB sticks in the middle of the show. Right. It's awesome, you know?
Just crash this 5 gig like set that I have loaded.
Yeah, well, and that's why we have backup computers. Wow. So anyway, there's a ton of stories, but yeah, that's a little piece of the world.
So tell me more about the Alluxe project. I know you've got, you know, you've got your live performance, and you've got your, you know, your on-stage presence. But you're also doing education. I think we'll link to this. You did a talk recently at Rockwood in New York City, and I mean, tell me more about how, you know, what you're doing in education and kind of like how you're trying to bridge. Because I mean, obviously, like I said, you're doing so much. Like, how do you do it all? And then like, where do you really find the like? I guess it just seems like music is your life, and then to be able to give back with teaching just seems like such a key piece of your, you know, just also to the big artists, but even, you know, people that are just getting started. It seems like you really have a lot to give.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's somewhat of a misconception because I don't actually teach any of the big artists. People are like, so you're teaching Kanye and Ableton? I'm like, no, I'm just doing it. I'm doing it for them. But I do have a passion for teaching, and so I toured with Miguel, and ended at the beginning of last year, and I was kind of like, okay, this is great. Like, I was in the band, I was opening up, you know, that was I kind of made it the next step as far as like touring with other artists. And I was like, I'm happy to like kind of set up shows and design shows and then put one of my people on. But I don't really want to go tour with anyone else if I'm like behind the scenes. Because it's like, I've done it, It's like, I can press play and do the whole thing, or I could like get one of my people to do that.
Yep.
So, and train them and, be there during the design process and hand it over. So I decided, and I've been wanting to focus more on Alluxe. It was just, things have been so busy with, me touring with these other artists. It was hard to. So last year, I actually went through like a horrible like health thing where I got really sick, and it kind of changed my perspective on what I was doing. And I was like, I cannot be on the road. I'm better now. I'm like totally better, but it was like a time, it was meant to happen, it was like meant to show me what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And through that, I came out on the other side, and I was like, I cannot tour like I've been touring. Like, this is just, it's really harmful for me, and it's just grueling, and I need like a schedule. I need to be at home. I need to be like doing yoga and all this stuff. So meditating and doing yoga. So I really decided to go more full force on like training people for EC, putting them out on the road, and then focusing on my music. So I've set up a couple of tours. Like I did a tour last fall in Europe, and I went to Ableton Flute Conference and did a bunch of like speaking engagements and performances around that. And then I just did something on the East Coast. And so I've been doing that, like running my business, but also like putting more energy into getting out there, inspiring people to create art, to create music, and also more like in the niche of live shows, because that's where, my passion is performing. I mean, I love production and I love being in the studio, but like performing is really it for me. So yeah, to helping people with their live shows, to go out there and just like speak and show what I do, and then couple that with a performance in the evening. That's kind of the model that I'm doing right now. So I'm just getting invited to go to different schools and like venues, and so I'm trying to figure that model a little bit more, because that just like lights me up inside to just be able to go give back, like inspire people. They're all like, wow, like we had no idea that like there was such a path. Like even with the EC stuff, people were like, wow, we had no idea this was a thing, this was like a passion, this is a career.
Yeah.
And also just like showing what I'm doing and like what experiments that I'm doing with my violin and controllers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of been the progression, and really focused on my new EP and a new live show, and I'm working with an amazing, talented visual artist that's setting up like a live animated 3D like Unreal software program that's everything's been changing from Ableton, like got like MIDI clips and like audio reactive stuff, and it's like, it looks like it's been rendered, but it's like in real time. So I'm like really excited about that.
Wow.
And that's gonna launch this fall, and just putting together some shows on the West Coast, East Coast, like wherever people want to bring me out or have me. I'm kind of just like looking at all that stuff. So
yeah, we need to get you to Austin, do a workshop and perform for us.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Well, awesome. I mean, that is, like I said, I'm tired just listening to it. You're a machine, it sounds like. I'm glad you're taking care of your health. That sounds like, I know the road touring can just be devastating. I think when we hear of artists like getting sick on the road, and you're like, oh, poor baby. But it's like, no, man, you're up at 4 a.m, bus call, and you don't go to bed until 3. And it's like, what? Like, how do you do that for 3 months on end?
Oh yeah.
So,
well,
good.
Actually, one other thing that I wanted to mention, and I kind of mentioned this as we were first hopping on, but like I'm doing this retreat in December. And it's called Transmute, and it's for live performers. It's not announced yet. It's still like, I mean, it's locked in, but I haven't announced it yet. I'm working on that with some of my team, but it's going to be like a 6-day retreat for people that want to work on their live shows, live performances. They'll get one-on-one time with me, I'll get like feedback from all the other people that are there. I'm only accepting 15 people, so it's gonna be pretty intimate and small. Everyone's gonna have like their own station. It's like this beautiful, magical location, like really close to the beach in Florida, where a lot of musicians and electronic musicians do residencies there throughout the year. And it's just like in the woods. It's like beautiful. It's magical. The architecture is just like modern and amazing. And I'm gonna have like a health and wellness person there as well, my friend who does yoga and Reiki, and she's gonna be doing like visioning with the artists, so everyone can like kind of come up with their next steps with their live show. And so it's gonna be like a beautiful just like week of like zoning out with their art, with their live show, and self-care and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end, we're going to perform.
Wow.
And have a show. So if anyone who's watching is interested, hit me up. But yeah, I'm really excited to do things like that, because it's like I just love to help guide people and like help inspire them. Like, you know, some of the people that I'm working with like help me with things as well. It's like it's a two-way street, but we're just like all like vibing and like, you know, just learning. So yeah, I'm excited about projects like that.
That is the most amazing thing about music for me, and like having worked in some other industries and other places, and it just doesn't happen like this. Like music is just that, it's so powerful. It brings people together, and they can, like when you're working on your art, you're really like, you know, opening yourself up, like really cool shit can happen. So I mean, that's one of the reasons why I put so much of my life into it, and I see people like yourself just all in. And really, I think one thing that I think is really cool is like you are blazing a trail of like you said, there's this whole new thing opening up for people that are career paths, and like you were like, you know, and like that's something to be really proud of. And like it doesn't happen every day, and you look back and you're like, wow, like, you know, at least for me, I'm like, wow, that is, you know, that's something to look back on and be proud of. So yeah, so kind of going back to the sample pack and the challenge, I'm you know, obviously this interview will live on in time, but for this Saturday, June 17th, Gravitas Create and Laura Alluxe, we're going to be putting on a challenge. And so we're kind of changing up our challenges. We've been doing a challenge every week, and what we've seen is that's kind of too fast. Not enough time to let people really develop the idea. So you are our first like honorary, really excited professional, yes, touring, you know, professional artists to kind of bring us something fully formed with an idea. So we're gonna give people, I think what we said, 2 weeks. And so the first week we've got a huge batch of samples. Like typically we were just giving people, you know, 5 or 10 samples. You've given us racks and your own voice and your and so I'm like, when I opened that up today, I was like, damn, this is awesome. So even if people don't participate in the challenge, get the pack, because it's loaded with good stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff in my pack is from this BitTorrent bundle that I did recently with all the proceeds to the ACLU.
Yes.
And you know, there's like tons of stuff. So if you like what's in the pack and you want to get more, it's like pay $3.99 or more, and you get like a whole bunch of stuff, stems and violin stuff. But yeah, in the pack that I gave you, there's tons of like Ableton packs that I made and stems and.
And for anybody that doesn't know what the ACLU is the American Civil Liberties Union, which basically fights for our rights. They sue people like Donald Trump and other idiots who like to, you know, create laws against and violate human rights. Like, oh, you can't get married because you're gay. Well, guess what? Yes, you can. And the ACLU is some of the people that fight for that, and they do really good work. So it's an important cause. Absolutely encourage everyone, just honestly pull out your wallet, donate. I have it a recurring. My wife and I do $15 every month. So yeah, amazing cause. Props to you for, you know, pushing and doing for cause work again, like you just are just nonstop. doing it right. So yeah, I'll link all this stuff up in the notes, and it's always an honor and pleasure to speak with you. I'm proud to know you, and just can't wait to see what else you continue to create and do with your amazing career.
Thank you, and I want to say that I just love the community that you and your team members have built, and I'm like tuning in more and more. Like, I'm on the Facebook group now, and I'm like, oh, stuff's happening. Like, I was on Facebook the other day, and you guys were like doing the live stream, and I tuned in. And I was like, wow, this is dope. Like, so yeah. Like, I think it's so amazing what you guys are doing, and like, it's inspiring, and I'm like catching a lot of that my way.
Dope. Well, yeah, and like, let's loop in your community and loop in your team. I'd love to expose everybody to. I mean, I've kind of tapped into some of the people that are working for you and working with you, and it's just like, it's sort of limitless, unlimited talent over there. So save some for the rest of us. All right. Well, have a great night. Thanks for speaking with me, and we'll be launching the challenge this week.
All right. Sounds good. Good luck, everyone. The winner gets a Skype with me.
Oh, that's right. We totally forgot. Well, we will let everybody know for sure. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Bye.